Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Relationship School's Smart Couple Podcast. I'm Jayson Gaddis, your host, and this is the Ask Me Anything episode where listeners from around the world toss in questions into a big pile and we pick one and answer it, right? So I want to quickly thank my team that just works tirelessly behind the scenes to help me do this and help me and the Relationship School do our thing. So thanks, team. You guys rock. And specifically Dan, thanks for helping me out with this podcast. This guy is always busting his ass to make sure that you guys get a great feed, a great audio. All right. So thanks, Dan. All right. This podcast, of course, and the show here is about people who want to grow through relationships, and particularly long-term relationship. That's the conversation we're in. If you made it out to our Shine Talk the other night, my wife and I's, thanks. That was a lot of fun. It was really good. We shared a lot about our personal triggers and how we deal with that. So at some point that recording will be available. We'll keep you posted, all right? Okay, this question is from Kim in Fairfax. What's up, Kim? And she says, hey, Love Warrior, when my boyfriend gets triggered and shares his thoughts and feelings with me, how do I not take it personally and get defensive? Who gets defensive here? Anyone? Defensive people? So again, Kim is asking, how do I not take it personally and get defensive when my partner is sharing his triggers? And then she says, I feel like this creates a barrier between us when he's trying to reach out and I want to be with him in this moment, but I feel attacked, even though I know he's not attacking me. I can hear my shitty defensive tone of voice and feel my body language change. I also can't get my thoughts clear enough to have a mature conversation with him. I'm all caught up in my own BS. It's pathetic. How do I get past this and be present with him? Well, notice how judgmental you are with yourself. Okay, pathetic, calling yourself pathetic. You're adding on a layer. I just want to invite you to bring in some more kindness toward yourself, that this is natural. You're not pathetic. You're not, this is the way we human beings act. All right. So defensiveness is part of the human experience. And again, we usually get defensive in a place where we feel insecure and we don't like someone poking in that direction. And your guy, just by being himself and saying he's feeling scared or feeling angry, for whatever reason, you feel like it's an attack on you, right? And this clearly has to do with your past. So I would be zeroing in on where, you don't just get defensive all the time. You get defensive with really specific things. So you got to zero in, Kim, on where exactly are you getting defensive? Where exactly are you getting defensive? Is it his tone of voice that you get defensive with? Is it how he says it? Is it only with his anger and not with his sadness? Is it when he's scared? Is it only when he's giving you feedback and you start to feel judged and criticized? Like, what is it, right? So you got to zero in on and get specific. You can't globalize, I'm always defensive and that's always pathetic and blah, blah, blah. You got to go, I'm defensive some of the time and I'm most defensive when he does this very specific thing or says this very specific thing. That way you can get clear on where this comes from in your past, all right? Okay, so that's going to help you zero in on it, and now you can go work on that thing, which is probably from your childhood. Mom and dad behaved a certain way, you felt attacked and criticized, and then your personality felt like you had to defend yourself because you were always being judged, is how it felt maybe as a kid, right? So here you are playing out the same thing as an adult, of course, and you've attracted someone into your life that is going to mimic how your parents were in some way, close enough that you react in the same ways. So this is all very normal, nothing pathetic about this. I just hear you saying, I'd like to be less defensive and I'd like to hear him out more. He's allowed to share with me his feelings of being triggered. Of course he is, right? So this is what we do, though. Sometimes we'll take it personal and we'll just be like, oh, this is about me. And so one thing you can ask him to do is, look, honey, I need reassurance here. And what would have been the most amazing thing you would have heard as a little girl from your parents when they were maybe criticizing or judging you or talking about their own stuff where somehow you took it personally? What would have been the reassuring thing that they could have said? Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. This isn't about you. This isn't personal. This is just mommy's really struggling with something else, her own history. It has nothing to do with you, sweetie. And you could ask your guy to say something like that. You could be like, honey, will you say the reassuring thing to me in those moments you're triggered? Like, let's say he's angry. God, I'm so angry. Like, I'm so frustrated with the way this conversation is going. Let's say he says that. And you get immediately defensive. Well, he could say something like, whoa, hold on. I know you're going to get defensive, and I'm not here to attack you. I'm not here to hurt your feelings. I'm just talking about how my own emotional upset. And really, I'm pretty sure, honey, it has nothing to do with you. So he could say something like that, but you've got to coach him and say, this would be the reassuring thing for you to say to me. It would be different for all of us. Okay, it'd be unique to our personal template and what would calm our nervous system down. All right. Okay. And then in terms of I can't get my thoughts clear enough to have a mature conversation, no one can. When they're immediately triggered, there isn't a person I know that's mature as hell when they're triggered. It depends on the level of trigger, of course. So you got to give yourself a little slack here and be like, all right, I'm going to come back and have that mature conversation as quick as I can. 10 minutes, 10 hours, 10 days, whatever it is for you, that's your commitment. And that's your commitment to him. Honey, I get so reactive and hot and defensive that my goal, instead of taking 3 hours to talk to you rationally from the front part of my brain, I'm going to see if I can whittle that down to 2.5. And that's my commitment to you. And will you support me in that? Will you call me out if it's been longer than 2.5 hours and I'm still stewing? Will you just be like lightly, honey, it's been a couple hours. You said you were going to come back. I'm here whenever you're ready. And I'm not attacking you or anything. I'm open for a kind conversation. And you guys can start to tackle it there. So cut yourself some slack and commit to some kind of return time when you can be rational, right? And please dig into your past. There's some historical component here about why this is so charged and loaded for you when he does X, Y, and Z. And get very specific, right? That's the bottom line here. I think that's all we got. Thanks for being courageous enough to let us have your question shared. So if you want to ask a question on the podcast, please send it to info@relationshipschool.net. Put podcast question right in the subject line. Right? And that tells us we have permission to share that and read that on the podcast. We won't read your whole name. We're not going to read your social security number. Just first name, where you're from, that helps because then it gives people a name and a place. It's fun to hear about where everybody's from. Okay, and guys, if you want to practice and you actually want to get in there, like Kim, you and I could go back and forth. And you could go back and forth with one of my senior students, Jennifer, if you join the Relationship School Roots community, right? That's straightforward. You meet a couple times a month and you're going to get all kinds of value and you're going to move the needle because all of a sudden you're putting money on the table to like change a behavior rather than expecting to just kind of be in a silo and hope that things get better for you. I find that accountability in community and practice in community is essential in any endeavor in life to improve, to get better, to get more effective, efficient, etc. Okay, so think about that. Go to relationshipschool.net/roots if you want to apply. All right, guys. All right, that wraps up another short episode here at the Relationship School's Smart Couple Podcast. Here is to getting more intelligent and learning the skills that you never learned.